What's up, everyone? Welcome to this impromptu special edition out of nowhere live stream here on the Slam Sessions. I am your host, Albert Albanese. As you can see, this is a little bit impromptu. You can even see the setup behind me isn't usually what you guys are used to seeing. I'm used to being in other places in my room. In my apartment. But, the back room today. This is eventually going to turn into the media room. And eventually that green screen will be closer behind me so that I can project different stuff behind me while I do these live streams and do my videos. And a one-stop shop right here in my own like little home studio kind of a thing once everything gets done. But unfortunately, at this time, there is no timetable for when specific things are going to get done. So it is what it is. It's almost 6 o'clock Eastern time. And I've actually been, been home. I just got finished with dinner. I know I'm a grandpa. I eat extremely early. But I figured I'd come on here for about an hour. See if anybody was around to talk wrestling with. So obviously there's a lot of topics, a lot of things going on that have been hitting the Twitterverse over the past couple of weeks. And a couple of those things were things that I haven't really covered. As you guys have been seeing, most of the stuff that I've been doing on this channel has been more about my my toy room and my renovations and stuff like that. So I've been doing that. But at the end of the day, I haven't been talking a lot of wrestling on this channel. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to have to plug it once more, people are actually in here. If anybody ever does, to be honest. I mean, there's always that chance that we get no one. But, I'll let you guys know that, every Sunday I'm live doing the Positively Awesome Wrestling Cast. I've seen Harry in there, Muhammad. So some of the guys that are usually in the chat here whenever I go live and who comment on my videos, they're usually they've jumped into the chat a couple times. Sorry, I got distracted. My computer did a weird thing. So yeah, I've been mostly talking about wrestling over there, but we try to keep it a very positive spin. Ryan, what's up, buddy? How are you? So we try to keep a very positive spin on that channel. Ryan, what I'm talking about is the Positively Awesome Wrestling Cast that I do every Sunday over on Jimmy Bebe's account. So we do that every Sunday, and that's been fun. It's been a good outlet for me to talk about wrestling a little bit more. Because I really haven't been doing it on this channel. As you guys can see, most of the stuff that I've been doing has been the toy room stuff. So, I figured I'd take a few minutes, come out here and talk to you guys a little bit about the current stuff. I know a couple of things that I haven't really covered that are some pretty big hot button items right now. AEW and the all-in ticket sale fiasco. Jade Cargill maybe leaving AEW to come to WWE. And probably the biggest thing that's happened over the past, couple of weeks that I actually haven't even spoken about anywhere really has been CM Punk being fired from AEW. So those were a couple of the topics I was figuring we'd talk about here today. And I think I kind of want to just, I guess maybe I'll start with the Punk stuff because I feel like it's a little bit of old news, and if more people join in, I think that, we'll talk about more of the current stuff that's been going on. But so CM Punk gets fired from AEW. And, this is one of the biggest whirlwinds. All right, you know what, Ryan? We'll save Punk for a second. Let's go there. You want to talk about that? I'm with you. So what Ryan in the chat is talking about, the fact that AEW talks about WWE inflating numbers, and they did it. So it came out that, a few years ago, WWE touted the success of one of the WrestleMania. I can't remember which number it is. There's been so many, but one of them, they said there was over 100,000 people there, right? And immediately, everybody who spoke about this event automatically debunked WWE. They said, no, that's no way. There was about 83,000 people in there, maybe. Henny Powers, what's going on, man? How are you? But yeah, they said there's no, there was 80-something thousand in there. That's the number. And then a wrestling journalist called the local police station and got the turnstile count for WrestleMania. So that was a big thing. People have been discrediting the over 100,000 person attendance that WWE has been talking about for the past few years at WrestleMania because of this turnstile count. Now, I've always said that the turnstile count doesn't make sense to even take into equation, at this point, because not everybody who's, an audience member goes through the turnstile. If you ask Tony Khan, he needed the extra 10K people to remove CM Punk from the building. 10K in security just to get Punk out of there, right? Let's be fair. It was 8K for Punk and the rest for, making sure Jack Perry shuffled along on his merry way as well. But yeah. I mean, now AEW comes out. Tony Khan comes out, publicly says on Twitter, thank you for over 82,000 people being in the building. Not only that, Will Ospreay gets this number tattooed on his elbow. A monumental moment for this man in his home country that he got to wrestle in front of what he was told was 82,000 people. He released a video afterwards, and he's like, are you kidding me? You got to be kidding me. Look at this thing. I got this thing tattooed on my arm. And he removed it. But you can tell he was laughing, but he was definitely not happy. And here's the issue. I actually don't doubt Tony Khan. I think that the paid attendance may have been that much. I think that there may have been that many people there too. But I absolutely guarantee that all of them didn't go through the turnstile, just as much as I believe that over 100,000 people were in the building for WrestleMania 2. There's a lot of people who are sitting in skyboxes, specialized seating, tickets that were purchased, by WWE for the wrestlers to seat their wives and families and stuff like that. They're not coming through the turnstile. Family members, celebrities, things like that. They're sitting in the audience, taking in the show, taking up a seat that should be, a member of the paid audience, which means that seat is definitely paid for. But that doesn't mean that just you know what I mean? That doesn't mean that they came in through the turnstile. And that's the same thing for AEW and All In and Wembley. I'm not doubting that there may have been that many people in the building. What I'm doubting, the hypocrisy that I want to call out is that it's this AEW marks, meltdown, like Ryan just said, that, that these guys had this, meltdown over numbers and attendance and stuff like that, and got so mad. WWE always inflates their numbers. You said so, Dave Meltzer, but only half of us like Dave Meltzer now because Dave Meltzer kind of hates CM Punk, and half of us like CM Punk, so we didn't want to see him leave, so we hate Dave Meltzer, but we still believe Dave Meltzer when he said something negative about WWE, and he said they inflate their ticket numbers, so they inflate their ticket numbers, so we don't like that. WWE does that, and then look at that. AEW comes in, and technically they inflated the numbers, right? Because because they made sure, and look, I'll give credit where it's due, because if I'm 99.9% sure it was Brandon Thurston who said, I called about the turnstile numbers for WrestleMania, and this is the number I was given. So he's left that open for other journalists to do this kind of stuff to AEW. And that's the thing. All of these journalists that don't like WWE have gone out for so long, have done all this stuff to discredit the WWE, and they've forgotten that if there are other members of the media that are pro-WWE that want to discredit AEW, they can use those same tactics on AEW. And here we are. Now, AEW was just celebrating the largest attendance ever in pro wrestling history, and now everybody's going to sit there and put an asterisk next to it. There was already an asterisk no matter what, because WrestleMania already was saying that they had 100,000 people there. And if you go by the turnstile counts, the WrestleMania turnstile counts still beat AEW's turnstile count. So any way you want to go about it, WWE is still, king. They're still number one. So I don't understand what anybody gained from all of this. This is what you get for Tony Khan going on and going out and hyping this to say, this is going to be the biggest, this is going to be the biggest, this is going to be the biggest, when there was a chance that it might not be the biggest. And now that it wasn't, he's got egg on his face. And what is he going to do? Go on all of these shows and talk about how, I don't know, there really was that many people. The turnstile numbers are different. Let me explain this. Or is he just going to dodge the question and not answer like he does when he gets, questions that he doesn't feel like answering or that he can't answer? Let's see. I'll give credit where it's due. The shoot number is still impressive. Absolutely, Ryan. It's impressive for professional wrestling. It's a good thing. That many people in the building at the same time to see an AEW show in Wembley was a good thing. It's an amazing thing. It's great for pro wrestling. I wish everybody would just be freaking happy for it instead of getting so mad at caught in the minutia of ticket sales. How many people were there? Who cares? Who cares? Was it a good show? I watched it. I watched the show. I went to my friend's house. I had some wings. I hung out. I had a good night with all my friends. And I watched the show. And I enjoyed myself. Was it the best wrestling show I've ever seen? No. Was it entertaining? Absolutely. Did we all have a blast? Definitely. That's what was important. But yeah, so I just love seeing the AEW Marks meltdown over this. It's high comedy. Ryan, you and me both. It's so funny to see how all of a sudden they're just coming out to defend Tony Khan at every chance they possibly can. Like, oh, no, it still is. No, it's still the highest grossing. No, because, like ticket sales and then like people don't go through the turnstiles and, like people buy tickets and then they resell them and then they don't go. And, it's like, dude, calm down. Why are you going so hard to defend AEW and Tony Khan? They've never met you. If that's what your whole life is tied to, your online presence defending AEW at every turn, man, you got to get a better life. Touch grass. It's fun. It's a beautiful thing. AEW had such potential. It's become just ridiculousness behind the scenes. And look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. On camera too. I loved Collision. I thought Collision was great. As much as, I may dislike. And I can't even say this because, look, I judge people upon how they treat me. So I can't say I dislike CM Punk as a person because I don't know CM Punk the person. Maybe he'd be the nicest person in the world to me. But as much as I dislike the way that CM Punk has handled himself throughout this whole AEW process, starting with Brawl Out and then, coming around to where we are now, I was enjoying Collision. I thought it was a great wrestling show. It was very well paced. It was storyline driven. Everything carried from one week to the other. There wasn't filler. It wasn't just good match for the sake of having good match. It meant everything there meant something. Collision was a great wrestling show. And now that Punk is gone, it devolved back into Dynamite Light. And I'm not happy with the presentation and the product of AEW Dynamite. It's for me, it's 2.5 hours of wrestling in a 2-hour show. And it's, sometimes, man, you just got to let some of these moments breathe. And, you'll have a big heel turn. And it's like, oh my God, this guy turned heel. Oh my God, what's going to happen next week? Okay, we're at commercial. And then we come back and it's like, so last week, Hookhausen, and it's like, there's no building, And WWE gets discredited a lot for their production and from the standpoint of maybe, how do I want to put this? Overdoing it with replays. WWE is educating their audience and letting them know what happened. And sometimes it's okay to replay what happened earlier in the night, even if it's just 20 or 30 seconds, if it's one of the biggest stories, if a heel turn happened. You know what I mean? Like that, those are things that you want people to see if they missed it. Although I'm so happy you're streaming, Albert, it sadly hasn't been a good day for me. AJ, I am so glad you said that because the reason why I'm streaming is it's because it's absolutely been a horrendous day for me. So full disclosure, I don't hide anything from you guys here. I'm very well open with it, with all you guys about, a lot of stuff that goes on in my life. I'm in the process of switching jobs. I've been at my current job for almost 7 years I've been in that position, and now I'm moving on to a different position. My start date was supposed to be tomorrow, and they've just been pushed back basically indefinitely due to some stuff that's going on within my agency. I'm not going to get into details, but suffice to say, whereas Monday was going to be one of the better days, and I was looking forward to it, now it's going to take a much longer time for me to, to get to that. So I decided that instead of dwelling on the negative, I'm just going to talk wrestling with you guys for an hour, and hopefully that'll lift my spirits for a little while. But AJ, oh my God, your car got stolen. Dude, come on. That's awful. Man, I hope everything ends up working out for you. I hope they find it. I hope your insurance can cover it. I hope, there's some sort of a positive that can come out of it. That is horrible, man. I'm wishing you the best. Harry, thanks for being here, man. But yeah, AJ, man, best of luck to you. I've said this on Dave's chat. If Tony wasn't the boss, he would be fired a long time ago. Ryan, I agree. I completely agree. The thing is that, he looked, there is no way that Vince would have let Brawl Out happen. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. Punk knows that. Punk knew who he was getting up there next to. I mean, you got to know. Like Tony Khan is respected as a boss, but he doesn't hold that gravitas that Vince does. Like Vince would have, no matter what would have happened, if Punk would have pulled that, Vince would have fired him. There wouldn't have been a suspension. Vince would have fired him. Just for, not even for the brawl part, not even for the fight, just for disrespecting him in front of a whole bunch of people. Like, you don't do that to your boss. Like, that's just bad to do 101. And then for Tony Khan to then stand up when Punk came back on his first day and start cheering and chanting CM Punk in Gorilla when Punk came back from, ripping that promo, cutting that first promo. Who runs that show? It's the CM Punk show. And then if it's not CM Punk, it's the Bucks or Omega. It's whoever they want it to be, because it's definitely not Tony Khan. I'm not saying Punk is blameless at all, but really all this nonsense was just so easily avoidable. Look, there is a lot of stuff that's easily avoidable, but Ryan, look, at the end of the day, I'll get into the Punk stuff in a couple of minutes, actually. I guess we're there, so we're going to get there. I'm going to read through these comments, and then we'll jump into it. But look, you can't fight two of your coworkers and expect to still have a job. You can't do it. Like, you just can't keep fighting people. I prefer Collision over Dynamite, but all good things must come to an end, I guess. It is what it is. Henny, look, I'm right there with you. I'm 100% behind you. I loved Collision. Collision was my favorite, at points, was my favorite wrestling show of the week for such a long time. FTR versus Bullet Club Gold in that almost an hour match. The week before, when they had that other great tag match. I mean, they the stories that were being built with Punk and Starks. I was so happy to see Ricky Starks getting a main event push on a TV show, on an AEW TV show. It was great. And here we are again. Yeah, Henny, I'm with you on that too. I hope they catch the people that did this to AJ. I mean, that really sucks, man. I'm glad you weren't in the car and you weren't hurt, AJ. I mean, at least it was just a possession and it wasn't you. So that's a positive. But man, that sucks, dude. I'm wishing you the best. And yeah, Harry, you're right. He did know that, because there's nothing that Tony Khan's done outside of, yelling at Big Swole on Twitter that shows that he's like a boss that's defending his employee. You know what I mean? That's like, he defends AEW very strongly, but he doesn't speak negatively about any of his employees or like comment on anything that's the least bit controversial. Comment needs to be concerned more about his unhappy talent jumping ship. I can see Wardlow. Henny Pat, like, dude, if Wardlow's at the top of my list, if I'm Wardlow, I'm going to WWE, even if they don't do anything with me. And, and it's so funny that a year ago at this point, people were like, if he went to WWE, they wouldn't be putting him in half the spot that he is now. And now look where he is. He's gone. He's off TV. He's a non-factor. And he's so talented. And he's got such a good look. There's no reason why he should be a non-factor. Like, it's crazy. The fights themselves, it should have never gotten to the point where it should have happened. The root of all this was Colt Cabana being taken off TV. So, Ryan, it's not even that it was Colt Cabana being taken off TV. Harry, I hate when that happens. I've had a couple of them that's happened to me too. With that, something just goes out of stock. But look, let's start from the beginning. Let's go all the way back from the beginning. This all stems from where we got started. This all stems from Punk saying that from the whole workers' rights promo that Adam Page cut, him mentioning Colt Cabana on TV. That was the whole big thing, right? So, Punk gets all mad about this, and instead of going to Tony Khan and saying, "Hey, put a stop to this," instead of going to Hangman and having a conversation, I don't know what happened, but somehow in some sort of an agreement came to, is one of those things that everybody's been talking about. But that happened, and that's bad and everything like that, right? So now here's the thing: that could have been water under the bridge, or and that could have been the end of it, right? Punk could have complained. He could have just said, "Hey, look, I'm not taking this shit. Next time this happens, there's going to be an issue. I'm going to walk. I'm not doing this." Now, Tony can be the good boss and say, "Hey, I don't understand why you're getting all mad about this. Didn't Eddie Edwards and MJF both, kind of reference Colt Cabana in both of their promos? Why is it on Hangman?" And that's we're looking at it from both sides. And from the other side, Punk is being disrespected, and he's a veteran. He shouldn't be disrespected in the middle of an AEW ring. That's not what you do to your top star. The guy's coming in to be one of your top guys. You should be happy whether you get along with him or not. So I get it from Punk's point of view. But the whole thing about it being about Cabana hasn't said a damn word about any of this. Punk hasn't said a damn word about Cabana, except for Brawl Out. And then what did he do? He ripped Cabana. And that's the problem. In every turn, Punk comes off looking like a baby. This could have all been avoided. Adam Hangman Page makes one comment. He said nothing since. Until very recently with that, because Punk, again, couldn't keep his mouth shut. And he made that reference of Hangman being a peg warmer. And then Hangman put up a picture of Punk in the discount section. But he hadn't said anything. Then Punk's other thing was the Young Bucks went to the journalists. They went to the journalists to plant stories about Colt Cabana and how I got him banished to Ring of Honor. And okay, let's just say that's the case. Punk comes back, and he's leaking stories to the journalists about Jungle Boy using real glass. Like, how am I supposed to think that you're trying to turn a new leaf when you're just doing whatever everybody else did to you just to get the last laugh? It wasn't enough that Hangman made that comment. Punk had to go out in the middle of the ring when he knew Hangman wasn't there and challenge Hangman to a fight to come out to the ring when he knew Hangman wasn't going to be able to come out and answer it because it wasn't scripted. Punk went off script to do that again, and that was unprofessional too. Just as much as the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega were ridiculously unprofessional for making the references to Brawl Out in their next match where they're biting people and stuff like that. Why are you being childish? Everybody keeps saying things like, they should strip all of the EVPs of their power. Here's the thing. The only person that can wield power in any sense of direction in that company is Tony Khan. It's not like friggin' Omega and the Bucks are booking every show. Tony Khan is. It's not like they're making those decisions. One of the Jacksons is in charge of marketing and merchandising and stuff. One of them is in charge of something else. I think media or something like that. Kenny Omega's in charge of video game developing and stuff like that. They're not EVPs in the status of they're in a boardroom making every single decision that's ever being made. That's Tony Khan doing that. And that's the thing. They need to be stripped of the EVP status. What are you talking about? CM Punk was literally running Collision. He was kicking people off the show. So it was okay that Punk got to wield all that power, but it's not okay that the Bucks get to wield any power? You guys can't keep taking sides. That's the big problem with all of this. Everybody's taking sides. This is one big mess. AEW is in a mess because these people aren't getting together. And instead of everybody trying to come together and say, hey, how about all of you guys be adults and grown men, sit down in a fucking room, talk about this, and get this all out in the open to make it so that we can do business together? They've made this even worse. And now Punk's fired. And now, there's a chance we never see CM Punk on AEW television ever again. And he did bring people in. He did bring in ratings. He was a needle mover for that company. I'm not saying that no one, anybody who liked Punk is not going to watch the show again. But it's definitely tarnished, a lot of people's, perception of what AEW was doing. It wasn't good business. I can't deny that it's AEW's only move. They had to fire Punk. But, it's a bad business decision at the end of the day. It doesn't help anybody. The right thing to do is to get everybody in the same room and work together. Not put Punk on a separate show and just say, okay, well, you think the Bucks have free reign over here, you can have free reign over here. Like, that's not the way it works. Like, inevitably something's going to happen. And look what happened. It did. And it wasn't with Punk. I'm sorry, it wasn't with the Bucks. And it wasn't with Hangman. And it wasn't with, Omega. It was with Jack Perry. So if Punk's been an issue from the start, then maybe this is the best thing for AEW because maybe the locker room's going to be better. But you know that there are people in that locker room that really like CM Punk, so that's dividing the locker room. It's not good business either way. The root of the second fight was a young guy. It was Punk advising a young guy not to use real glass in an angle. Like, this is ridiculous. Yes, Punk fighting him wasn't right, but over real glass. Look, Ryan, I'm with you there. But from, the thing is that why is that Punk's call anyway? Why is Punk the one to do that? Why isn't that Tony Khan doing that? Why is that on CM Punk in the first place? You know you have a person who is volatile and is not the best with dealing with human beings. Why was that his decision in the first place? And if it wasn't him, if it wasn't like him saying, hey, dude, just a word of advice. I'm not trying to say anything. Just, dude, look, maybe using real glass isn't the smartest thing in the world. If that's the way he went about it and Jungle Boy was just like, hey, go screw yourself. All right, if I'm Punk, I'm like, okay. I'll kick him off Collision too. I would have to deal with him because he did it with Ryan Nemeth, apparently, right? He did it with other people, Christopher Daniels. There were other people that people have reported that Punk basically said can't be on the Collision show. He didn't want them there. So if he has that swing, then he doesn't need to be in the building with Jack Perry. Why is this a Punk thing? I just don't understand it. I'm convinced Jericho was a leak too. He was afraid of Punk being a bigger deal. I don't see, Ryan, here's the thing. Jericho has always been a company person, and Jericho's always about making money. And I think Jericho wanted to work with Punk more than he wanted Punk gone. I think that there are people there that are absolutely leaking stories to the dirt sheets. I don't think it's Matt or Nick Jackson. I don't think it's Chris Jericho. I think it's some undercard guys, some guys that have very good loyalty to the Young Bucks, and they're like, and look, I'm not saying it's him. I'm just going to name a name to just kind of put you into a headspace of like who it would make sense that it would be, like somebody like Brandon Cutler, who isn't, in like, or, and again, I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just throwing names out. QT Marshall, if this was happened to Cody, you can expect it would be like QT Marshall maybe would be, stoking the flames a little bit so that he keeps Cody's name out of it. And, obviously Dave Meltzer's not going to give up his sources anyway, but they have plausible deniability. The Bucks can sit there and say, well, we didn't say anything. Meanwhile, Brandon Cutler's, parroting whatever they're saying behind the scenes to Dave Meltzer. Again, I'm not blaming Brandon Cutler. I just want to make this very clear. I'm just using these names as an example. But I think that's what's going on. I think that there are human beings that are there that work for AEW, may not even be people who are on camera, that have loyalty to certain people, that want these certain stories to be out there to try to discredit other people. And Harry, that's why I used Cutler, because he's a very close friend to the Bucks. So you would imagine that he would be the one who would want to try to protect them to, feed these stories about Punk being an egomaniac and, them not getting, him getting, Cabana banished to Ring of Honor or whatever. That's why I brought him up. I don't know if it's him or not. No idea. I'm not accusing or anybody. I'm just saying that, like, that's the kind of person you would assume that would be doing this kind of stuff. It's not going to be the big guys that are doing this. The thing is, Tony should have sat down, Punk and the Elite down. Punk came back and said, you don't have to be best friends, but this is over. Shake your hands and move on. Ryan, I am with you 100%. And that's the other thing. It came out that, like, the Elite, they were like, hey, if Punk doesn't mess up in 6 months, we'll sit down and have a meeting. That's wrong on their part. I don't give a crap. Look, here's the thing. This is also, again, this all relatively comes back to Tony Khan, because Tony Khan shouldn't have given Punk his own show. He could have given Punk his own show later on, but he should have done exactly what you said, Ryan. All right, look, Punk's coming back. By the way, another thing. Did Punk even theoretically serve a suspension? He was hurt the entire time. Technically, the Bucks and Omega got punished for Brawl Out. Punk really didn't even get punished. He'd served a suspension while he was hurt, but then he came back as soon as the injury was over, right? So technically, Punk didn't serve a suspension. Maybe he didn't get paid for that certain period of time, but he didn't actually serve a suspension, right? That's another thing to think about as well. But anyway, you come in, you have everybody shake hands, everybody's cool, and then you're like, all right, fine. Look, I get it. You guys don't want to be around each other that much. We'll give Punk, they have this new show coming out. We'll put Punk as the guy over there. You guys have to be backstage, at pay-per-views and the random times where we do tapings where we're gonna have to do Collision and Dynamite in the same week or day. Boom, done, over. Now no one has to worry about anything, and that's that. But even with that happening, Punk still found a way to find an issue with somebody else. Because Khan would be a mark, pretend to be one of the boys instead of being the boss, actually doing his job. Look, again, I don't know Tony Khan personally. He might be the nicest person in the world. He might be the best person in the world to work for. But from what I'm seeing, he's just not it just doesn't look like he has control of everybody back there. And that's the thing. I make this joke a lot about Tony Khan, that I feel like Tony Khan books his wrestling organization like he's sitting crisscrossed, in the middle of his living room surrounded by his wrestling figures. Now, I will say this. I booked multiple very successful wrestling federations that way. No one will ever know about them, and they were to an audience of one. But that audience of one loved every single one of them, by the way, because it was me. But I also don't run a major company. And I think that Tony Khan got in over his head because I don't think he realized that as much as you can sit there and go, we're going to put these guys in a match together, and we're going to put these guys in a feud together. Ooh, we're going to build off the beginning of the show with these guys here. Great. Let's put these here. Okay. These guys are going to be backstage. Oh, we'll do an interview with this one. Great. Perfect. All right. We got it all laid out. Okay. Here we go. Welcome to Dynamite. Opening segment, MJF. Here comes MJF's little wrestling figure walking out to the ring. I think that's what we expect it to be. But then at the end of the day, Ryan took the words right out of my mouth. At the end of the day, they don't have egos. So when you bring MJF out and you're cutting a promo for him, and then he gets interrupted by Adam Cole, who challenges him to an impromptu world title match, and Cole wins in 5 minutes, you're not going to have, that's it. Adam Cole's your new AEW world champion in your fig fed, and you put the belt on his waist and you celebrate, and he does boom, and then you move on to the next segment, right? But, you don't have that. MJF figure isn't going to come back and be like, yo, I quit. I can't believe you would make me do that, and you would take my title off of me like that. You're a POS, and I hate you, and go screw yourself. That's not the way, you know what I mean? That's real life. Posey, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here, dude. But yeah, so don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying Punk is 100% right, but I am saying I can understand his. Look, I get his perspective. I get it. As a veteran, you should be taken seriously. The funny thing is about this, though, and this is what's always bothered me about Punk. Khan is like if deers in a headlight was a person. It's a good analogy, Harry. Yeah, that don't work for me, but that's so good. But yeah, but all right. So the thing that bothers me about Punk, or that's puzzling to me about Punk, was he built his upbringing in WWE and in pro wrestling about bucking the system and being different. But he's getting really mad at all these younger guys for doing all this newer stuff that he wouldn't do. Isn't that kind of what he was doing to the older talent too? You know what I mean? And maybe he doesn't see it that way, and maybe because you get older, you get jaded, and sometimes you think that way. And I can see that maybe that's the case. But it really is very puzzling to me that a guy who really made his name being counterculture is getting so mad that all these other guys are being counterculture. It doesn't make sense. And then to stoop to their level. I don't like that you went off script and called me out on a TV show, so I'm going to go off script and call you out on a TV show. True, Sinister. What's going on, man? How are you, man? Yes, we are talking about CM Punk. I think he feels that way because what they're doing, what they're doing is affecting business. Sure. But I mean, I don't think it's really affecting Punk's wallet, so I don't know why he's complaining that much, right? Jose, I'm so glad you're liking them. I'm going to start editing my other one actually later on today. But yeah, so look, I get that perspective. I understand it. And maybe, like I said, we get older or maybe we get a little jaded about certain things, but you have to understand that the business has evolved. And look, I've accepted it as a fan too. I understand that WWE is going to be way more my speed for the rest of my life when it comes to what pro wrestling is, because I prefer that. Look, if you prefer AEW, more power to you. I love you for it. I want everybody to be able to watch all the wrestling that they like, and I want them to like all the wrestling that they watch. That's my wish. Oh, Henny, that's a good call. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a few. Remind me before we. Where are we? All right, yeah, we got about like another half hour. Remind me. Punk was always to me stuck between two worlds. When you can tell he brought up old school, but he knew how to bring in the modern age. And I'm not disagreeing with you there. I'm 100% not disagreeing. I think you're 100% right. But I think that once he got to being that old school, I think that mentality took over too much, and he wasn't really able to see, a lot about the new school stuff. Look at the guys who he liked. They're very much throwbacks. Ricky Starks is like The Rock, that's the era that Punk grew up watching. FTR is like the Midnight Express. That's the Punk that's the wrestling that CM Punk idolizes. Guys like Terry Funk and the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express and stuff like that. Like, that's who Punk liked, and those are the guys that he's drawn to. The thing is, Punk is not an AEW original or part of their foundation. You can't put him in an Undertaker-like locker room leader. So, and true sinister, that's, in a way that's true. And if, AEW was smart, they would have brought Punk in and said, hey, look, you want to sit there and hold court with your session of guys and you want to guide them, you want to help, great. But, we have locker room leaders back here, so we don't want you to start, trying to impose yourself on everybody, And I think, but here's the thing, I think Punk's that kind of a guy, and this isn't a negative thing about him. I just think he's the kind of guy that likes to be in control. And I understand that, because if you're in control, if something goes wrong, okay, fine, it's your fault. But if you're not in control and something goes wrong, it's like, I could have avoided that, and I get it. I'm that kind of a person too. So that's not a knock on CM Punk, because that's the way I feel he is. I'm the kind of a person that wants to be in charge of a situation. I want to make everything, I want to make the rules, because if I make the rules, then at least I know that it's going to go according to what I want. And if what I want in my mind, whatever I want is better than whatever anybody else wants, because that's the right choice. I think that's where Punk's head is at. I'm the same way. I'm not mad at him about that, but sometimes I think it gets him in trouble. What most of AEW guys are doing is really not helping the business. I think a lot of guys wanted to help more. So, Ryan, I'm with you. I don't like the way that, AEW's presentation is. I don't like shoving. All right, so you watched an old school episode of Monday Night Raw from, the Attitude Era, right? It does feel rushed, but it does feel like a 2-hour show that is like so jam-packed that it's about to burst. AEW feels like it bursts. Like dynamite, it feels like it bursts. Like, it does feel like that it explodes at a point. And then there's just too much and they just can't get everything in. Like WWE knows how to hold on the moments. And they'll, maybe they might have, gone short on the second, on like that segment where, they gave a blue bath to the Brood, but they made sure they kept extra time at the end of the show to make sure that they got all the reactions from Austin driving into Zamboni. I'm not saying these are the same shows. Those are two different time periods anyway. But that's my point. Like, they always make their moments feel bigger, and that's thanks to their production. It's also thanks to WWE having 3 hours for Monday Night Raw. Dynamite would actually benefit from an extra half hour. Not a full hour, an extra half hour. I think that, don't change anything. Keep the exact same stuff on there. Just let it breathe a little bit more. But I do think that there's way too many moves now. I think there's way too much no selling. I think we've gotten to the point in AEW where when Canadian Destroyers just don't mean anything anymore. They're not even that they're not ending matches, but they're not even being sold anymore. Like, we've gone too far, and somebody's got to rein that in, and that bothers me. As a wrestling fan, that bothers me. Jose, I'm glad that you're here, but in a way, I wish Craig and Andre were here, because when we watched the Bucks versus Penta and Ray Phoenix, the cage tag team match they had, I was like into it, but man, like all the no selling, there was so many times I'm like, come on, man, you just got hit with the guy's finish. Why are you back up trading blows already? Like, there's just too much of that goes on for me. And I guess because I'm old school, maybe I'm a little bit of a purist, that just doesn't work for me. WWE does that better. That's just my opinion. Punk also has a comically immature way of not tolerating people who disagree with him. True Sinister, I think that there's no denying that that's the case. I think Punk was a little upset that his body couldn't do it anymore. And I mean, every time he won a big match, he broke himself or started a fight or both. Jose, you're not wrong. And I think that it's a shame because, for all intents and purposes, his last AEW match is going to go out and being a classic with Samoa Joe. And it was really good, but I think you might be right. It just seems like, maybe that was the case. But if that's the case, go to a more limited part-time schedule. Don't put yourself out to be doing this as much as that case, if that's the case. Punk also really puts people out there in a very negative way. I mean, Hogan, Cabana, Page, Ryback, Miro, the Elite. He rivals Brett in that. Yeah, it's funny. Nobody calls Punk bitter, but a lot of people call Brett bitter. But, Punk has a lot of the same attributes as the way he airs his grievances as Brett does. And this is coming from one of the biggest Bret Hart fans in the entire world. I honestly don't believe Brett's bitter at all. I think that he's just being truthful. And I just think people take it as bitterness. But he also had, the money that Bill Goldberg makes right now, to be able to do Saudi shows and come back and get another title run and stuff like that, Bret can't have anymore because of Goldberg. And I think I'd be a little bit spurned if that was me too. But Punk walked away. He left for 7 years, 7 of his best pro wrestling years. He walked away because he didn't want to do it anymore. He could have gone to Japan. You know what I mean? He could have gone somewhere else. And at that point, his body would have held up in Japan. That's not on anybody else but Punk. I understand the business changes, but it's like JR says, there's a way to do it, but do it safe and make everything mean something. Ryan, I'm 100% with you. And that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes, all right, like Blood and Guts, when they do the Blood and Guts matches, I'm okay with like the excessive violence. But when it's a random episode of Dynamite, I'm like, why are we doing this? This is overkill. We don't have to do this on regular television every week. Wrestler safety. I want these guys to be okay, AEW is being silly on purpose to the point where it seems like they deliberately self-parody at times. I don't think they mean to, True Sinister, if that's the case. I don't think they mean to, but, sometimes it's a little difficult to watch, If Aaron Rodgers could know sold that Achilles, he wouldn't have been mad. Hey, listen, if Aaron Rodgers was still playing football right now, I wouldn't even care about the fact about my job screwing me over, today. I would just be like, whatever, Jets want to know. Which, by the way, Jets want to know, what up? But, I'd be a lot happier if Aaron was still our quarterback right now. 4 plays, Ozzy. 4 plays. I was devastated. Absolutely devastated. Now, Gibson at the end returning that, that field goal. I'm sorry, that kick return. Excuse me. I got so excited I had to sneeze. That brought me right back to life, thank God. But Aaron Rodgers being out just destroyed my soul. Still has. Look, Degenerate, what's going on, man? How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, people do call Punk a crybaby. And in a lot of ways, maybe he is. Again, I don't want to judge somebody they haven't met. But sometimes he has tendencies to do things like that, right? I do think AEW had Punk wrestle way too much, especially on TV. I think they should have used him like Edge's last run pay-per-views and a few big TV matches. Ryan, I'm 110% with you. Like, I could not be more with you there. I think that's exactly it. He didn't need to be on every show. He didn't need to wrestle on every show. If you knew you were going to go to AEW to see Dynamite, you knew you probably weren't going to see Punk wrestle, but you were going to get an appearance, and you might get a promo, and you might get him coming out and doing commentary. But you may not get to see him wrestle, and that's fine. You got to pay the premium price to see CM Punk, and I think he's worth it. Brett is bitter. He has reasons to be. Yeah, exactly. I don't believe that's bitterness. I just think that he's just upset with the way life's turned out. I don't think he's, I think that, I don't know if bitter is the right word, but hey, look, Jose, I hope to see you in the Super Bowl. That's all I can say. Look, we're doing you a favor this week. How much you want to bet we're going to beat the crap out of the Cowboys this week? I guarantee we're going to run that ball down their throats. Breece Hall is going to go crazy on them. We're going to have a nice comeback night for Dalvin Cook. He's going to get, he's got that system down now. I think he's going to have a big night. I think he's going to run all over the damn Cowboys. If anything, he should have stayed in the business. See, that's what I think, Degenerate. That's my big thing. I think that Punk never left. I think that this whole thing would have been so much better. I think that if Punk would have left WWE, he would have went to Japan for a couple of years. he would have went to TNA. He would have did anything else. I think that, we would be talking a different tune. I think that Punk would have redeemed himself in a lot of different ways. I think he would have elevated other companies and made them feel more special. But I do think that staying out for 7 years was a detriment to not only himself, but to the wrestling industry as a whole. Punk is an amazing talent. He's a one-of-a-kind talent. He really is. There aren't many people that are like, CM Punk. You can and Degenerate, same thing. Like, you can call him a crybaby if you want. And I understand that that's the case. Maybe he has those tendencies, but there is no doubt in my mind that when that guy is on television, he is one of the best performers that I've ever seen. I was a huge Punk fan in his WWE run. I was so happy when he came back in AEW. The parts where I got upset about Punk was all the stuff that happened off screen. It is what it is, Oh, we got eight people in here now, and a couple of you guys liked it. Thank you, guys. Thanks for the likes. Appreciate that. Thank you for. Let's see. I feel like AEW deserves the bad attention over the inflated numbers because all they talked about was the all-in numbers and weaponized them against WWE left and right. True Sinister, I'm 100% there. I can't look. That's one of the things we talked about at the top of the show. I know you kind of missed that. Look, they talked about these turnstile numbers, and now they're coming back to bite them in the ass. They wanted to use it against WWE. Now it's being used against them, and now all their AEW marks are coming up with their own excuses to try to defend it. Ludicrous to me. This is why you don't open your mouth, because you leave yourself up to speculation. And and especially because you can't say it's just their fans. Tony Khan was the one who said the largest amount of wrestling fans in the building at the same time, which is a shot at WWE because they claim that they have that at over 100,000 people. So he wants to make it seem that there were more people at his show. Now the thing that his fan base that weaponized them against WWE to discredit them are using the other side is using the same thing to discredit AEW. You think if the Jets went to the Super Bowl, would they be like this? Probably. I think so. I think that if the Jets went to the Super Bowl, I would think that it feels weird. So, Punk only wrestled an average of 11 matches a year for AEW. And Jose, I still think it was too much. I think that it's not that it was too much, but remember, he was out for such a long period of time. He got, first it was, it was the foot, and then, he was out, with the others, there was another, what do you have, like a strain or something like that. Like, he was out a couple of times, and I think that was a hindrance too. If he wouldn't have missed all that time, I think things would have been a lot better too. But did the likes go, I was about to say, did the likes just go down? Damn, what did I do? Punk and AEW was a cool idea, but I think the bigger deal is him coming back to WWE since the hell is for, look, I'm going to throw this out there right now. I don't want to see Punk back in WWE. And Nick Khan doesn't seem, aggressively interested in seeing it either. I think it maybe once, maybe for a program, and that's it. I don't want to see him back full time. That's me personally. I think that if he wants to do something, go and do something with some other small organization where he gets to basically be in control and he can kind of run things and it can go by his own, it's basically a live by the sword, die by the sword thing. Just basically almost start up your own so you can do it yourself so that if anything goes wrong, the only person they can blame it on is you. That's where Punk's got to go at this point. Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the league, and the Jets got lucky because the Bills choked. Right, listen, here's the thing. The Cowboys' run defense is atrocious, and the Jets have two of the best running backs in football right now. They're going to pound that ball down their throats. They're going to get Zach Wilson involved early with some crossing routes to Melchior Hardman and Randall Cobb. They're going to get those guys opened up a little bit, get the play action opened up a little bit because their run game's going to be stout. And then he can take some shots to Garrett Wilson and stuff like that. I think that the Jets win. I don't think they win by a lot. I think it's like 17-14, but I think they're going to win, and I think they're going to run that ball right down the Cowboys' throats. So Henny, look, I'm not going to even debate that because the Usos had DUIs and didn't get anything either. I don't know how it works. Maybe he got fined. I don't know how that works. I don't know if there was a punishment or not. But to be honest, I don't care about stuff like I don't really care about stuff like that. That's not for me to care about. That has nothing to do with the on-screen characters and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff tends to get like swept under the rug, for certain people. And Cash and Dax have like that. like the Usos do. Like they have that seniority, there, and they have that respect level where, they can probably get away with things that if that was, I don't know, Griff Garrison, he probably may not have gotten away with it, So, yeah. Right. Look who we're talking about. Look who they just played. Believe me, the Jets have a much better run game, and I think as of right now, the best running back in the league is Breece Hall. I don't care what anybody says. Argue at a wall. Let's see. I feel like I come off as an AEW hater, but I do like people over there and things they do. No. Believe me. Look, true sinister. I'm the same way. Yeah. I mean, Hosey, you're right. He did it to himself. It's a bit desperate, don't you think? I'm not saying for him to go to TNA now. I'm just saying, back at that time, 7 years ago, that would have been good. I think he should go to TNA now. I think that's the perfect place for him. Punk can walk into TNA and do whatever he wants. Like they might not have the money to afford him, but they can give him all the creative freedom that he wants. I think AEW needs a dedicated booker like Dusty, Sullivan, Patterson, Watts, or Heyman. Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm with you, Sinister. I 100% agree. I think Punk coming to WWE would be a big coup for them, but use him as part-time, not on the road full-time. I think it would be a big coup. I think it'd be a big story for the wrestling business. I just don't know if I want to see it at this point. And honestly, I don't think Punk wants to. Even if he's really mad at AEW and just wants to do it to stick it to them, I don't even think he wants to stick it to them that bad. I think he hates WWE way more. Hosey, I don't think that Edge is coming to AEW. I really just don't. I think that if Edge wrestles anywhere else, it'll be for WWE. It'll be a couple more matches and he's going to go. So Harry, that's a great point. That's actually the last thing I wanted to talk about today. So it's a good thing that you brought that up. Andre, what's going on, buddy? We got Hosey and Andre in the chat. This is awesome. It's like my wrestling Facebook Messenger chat come to life. Do you think that this is one New York team that actually owns Dallas? Degenerate? I will put it to you this way. And Rye, if you're still here, just want to throw this out there. The Cowboys haven't beat the Jets in like 20 years or something like that. It's kind of crazy. I am a WWE hater. It's all good. I'm still going to. You're going to WrestleMania with me, Hosey. I don't know as much of a WWE hater as you want to be. Andre, you're 100% right, man. Sorry to be that guy, Albert, but social media and to a lesser extent podcasts have shown a lot of wrestlers in a way where they're, you see, true sense. So that's the thing. I feel like we're so, I feel like there were guys that back in the day that I was big fans of that I would have been disappointed as human beings. And now I love them because I don't care, because I don't know what Demolition did behind the scenes, if they were Hellraisers or anything like that, but they were cool to me. So, whatever. But yeah, you're right. I think we have too much access sometimes. Degenerate, look, you want me to go back into retirement? That's totally fine. Listen, my job's screwing me over. Just as long as I can pay my rent, that's all I care about. The family is here. Somebody call Craig and get his ass in this chat. And Marcos, too. I just want to see Marcos. And tell me, just see his beautiful face and tell him that I love him. Well, I don't think that he hates them, or at least not as much as he did. He remembers what he did remember. He was at Raw burying hatchets a few months ago. Maybe, Ryan, maybe. I don't know if that was him burying hatchets or him just, trying to make himself look better. I don't know. Maybe he was. And I hope for his sake it was. And look, I hope they have a good relationship. Look, Nick Khan said I wish him nothing but the best, right? That's in my opinion, that's his way of almost them saying we wish you well in your future endeavors. I didn't get a very positive vibe coming from there. All right, so real quick, so Henny Powers brought this up. Real quick, I just want to talk about this. PWI top 10. It was top 3 in order was Seth, Roman, Mox. Rounding out the top 5, I believe was it? So I actually have to look. You know what? Let me look it up before I sound like an idiot here. Chat amongst yourselves. Hold on. New tab. PWI 500. I should have been prepared. Here we go. All right. So Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Moxley, Gunther, and Vikingo are the top 5. Rounding out the top 10, MJF, Okada, Orange Cassidy, Josh Alexander, and Cody Rhodes. Other notable people that are on this list that are pretty big names that are high up. Drew Sinister, thanks for being here, man. And yeah, you're right, Harry. Walter was number 4. Both companies are pretty much on. See, Degenerate, I'm actually really happy about WWE. It's actually not unwatchable for me, but I'm with you where AEW is getting there now. So let's see. Other top guys. Claudio Castagnoli at 12. Samoa Joe at 14. Chris Jericho at 24. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens 22, 21. Kevin Owens higher on that list though. Matt Cardona's at 31. I don't understand. That doesn't make sense to me. How was he 13th last year and now he's at 21? What, because he didn't win the NWA title? I mean, that's ridiculous. Hosey, I want to put it to you this way. Not only who would have thought that 4 years ago Orange would be so high on that list, who was to think that 4 years ago I would say that Orange Cassidy deserves to flip with Vikingo. And he should be higher on that list and in the top 5. Now, if he's not in the top 5 for this year with that AEW international title run, I call BS. He's one of the wrestlers of the year this year. And I am not an Orange Cassidy guy. I never have been. I never will be. But that international title run, he's been putting on banger after banger after banger. There is absolutely no reason why he shouldn't be anywhere near the top 10 in next year's PWI. But yeah, I think he should have been higher this year. I think Vikingo was way too high. I think that they look, and same thing. Look, Ryan, you said watch social media get upset about a Work Top 10 magazine. They do every year. This is why I don't care. I don't care. For me, because he's a Ring of Honor heavyweight champion. That's why he's so high, Harry. I saw AEW smart so bad because Kenny wasn't number 1. He shouldn't be number 1. He didn't do anything to deserve number 1 this year. Very big drop for the indie god, Hosey, and he did just as much, if not holds more titles now. CM Punk goes to TNA, he may as well go back into retirement. I don't know. Look, I just think he'd have the creative freedom there, Just Red Riddle is expected back next week. Oh, I'm surprised. I thought he would have actually gotten into a lot more trouble than he really did, but who knows what the hell went on with that TSA thing. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, I'm not mad about it. It's a Worked magazine's top 10. In my opinion, Roman's number 1. The guy has been world champion the entire year. He has not lost a title match the entire year. He's been pinned once the entire year that this all is, that this has been tallied. How is he not number 1 overall? Doesn't make sense to me. I'm not mad about Rollins being number 1. And I'm not mad about Mox being number 3. He was the MVP for AEW when Punk went down. That's what we're talking about. It's last year, it's like a July to July thing. So there's, specific things that are in there. I'm not mad at the list. I think it's fine. I just don't get mad about this stuff anymore. And my opinion is that if your list differs, I'm sure that if you can put just as much kayfabe not work into it and have your reasons for it, I'll take it. But I guarantee you most of it's just your opinion of who you like more. Because in my opinion, MJF should have been up there too. MJF should have been top 3. I don't know why he wasn't. That's just me though. And that's because I'm a big MJF guy. And my thing is that I think that I said Kenny Omega hasn't done much to be on there. It's because he was out and suspended. He was hurt. So that's where he spent a lot of that time here. But that's it. You know what I mean? Well, Roman lost to KO and Zayn at Night of Champions. Okay, you're right. He did technically lose that match, but he wasn't pinned. Ryan, I like anything over anything Dave Meltzer says. The wrestler's happy about being on the list. I get because they probably grew up reading PWI, but it's not worth being upset over. Ryan, I'm 100% with you. That's the thing. Like, unless you're going to turn it into something like, Cardona last year, turning in him being number 13 into like a gimmick on the indies for a little while to sell merchandise and stuff like that. Like, that's what you do. Like, you use this to work, the fans. And instead, the fans are, working themselves, at this point, because that's the way they are. That's the wrestling business. The wrestling business has devolved so much that everyone feels like they're in on kayfabe. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say it's not just me. I'm doing a motherfucking wrestling show right now. I'm talking about all the backstage stuff that I have no idea is actually going on because I'm not there. So I'm just as guilty. We all are. Just that we've been given so much access. We all feel like it's okay to keep continuing to do this and to talk like this and think that we have an vested stock in this. Look, in, 12 hours, I'm going to end up inevitably having stock in WWE. I'm going to buy a share of TKO. But to me, that's just a good investment. I think that there's no way that WWE and UFC starts losing money. So I think it's just a smart investment for myself. But at that point, I'll be a WWE stockholder. And even with that, I'll literally have stock in the company, and I still don't care as much. I promise you, I still don't care as much about a bunch of the stuff that goes on backstage than most of the people who have zero vested interest in pro wrestling other than just being a fan do. It's ludicrous, and we have ourselves to blame and nobody else. I know indie guys with no name get calls from PWI asking if they wanted to be in the top 500. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Hosey, believe me, I know. Did you utter the Power Towns? Because I did. Osprey should have been in the top 10. So, Henny, a lot of people have been saying that too, that he was noticeably missing from the top 10. I'm surprised he wasn't there either. I feel like he had more of a complete year than Vikingo did. I feel like he did more. I feel like Vikingo has now just been like, I know I'm saying his name wrong. I can't pronounce it the right way. Yeah, they asked for picks and stats. That's interesting. So I would put Osprey there and maybe put Vikingo down, but maybe he's done more in like other countries where I haven't followed his career. So that's just me. I did not. I'm waiting to get them. I did not. I'm waiting to get them right. But they were a pre-order. They were the Power Towns. The what's it called? The Matt and Bryans. I ordered mine because they look beautiful. So. Now there would have been like 497. Right, exactly. Look. And if that's the case, look, if you're young and you don't have like that big of a following, it's a great thing to get your name in there because somebody's going to see your name in the PWI 500 and go, oh, this guy's, who's this guy? It's not a bad thing. I just think that it's not worth getting people worked over about. Now, I don't know if Harry is still here. I haven't seen him. Oh, there we go. You did comment recently, so you are still here. So let's, in the last couple of minutes, let's talk about it. Jade Cargill may be leaving AEW and going to WWE. Now, rumor and innuendo, no one knows if this is true or not. But man, what a major story this is, right? Jade is one of those people. Well, right, Ryan, and that's what I'm saying. I'm sure they're doing research into trying to find these people and, talking and asking about this kind of stuff, so that they can get the best information. And I'm sure they're doing research. But, yeah, it's still a kayfabe bliss at the end of the day, and it's, no matter what, a borderline popularity contest. All lists are. Listen, Ryan, I'm good. I just haven't had a good day, so I think I'm just getting explosive every once in a while just to get it out of my system. But yeah, so, the thing about Jade is that, look, here's the thing. I think she's a star. Hosey, you know what? I might have to take you up on that offer. So anyway, what I was saying was that look, Jade Cargill is a star in my mind. Like you look at her, she looks like a star. She walks like a star. She acts like a star. She is a star. That's what she is. And AEW letting her go is going to be a big mistake. Right, good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it. AEW letting her go is a big mistake. She is one of the most talented women out there in terms of being able to get eyes on your product. Is she the best wrestler in the world? Maybe not. But you know what? I'm tired of, these internet wrestling fans, all talking about WWE fans like all we care about is work rate. We're the ones who are telling you that we don't care as much about it. We care about big stars. We care about story. We care about drama. We care about action. It's not about every match being a 5-star classic. It's about building stories and building characters. That's what the WWE fans want. And Jade Cargill is perfect for that universe. She is a star. She has a great look. She has a great personality. She's good. She can talk. She walks the walk. Everything about her screams major. Rhea versus Jade. That's, a lot of people are talking about that. Bianca versus Jade. Charlotte versus Jade. My thing is that, I mentioned I'm actually upset that Mercedes, is no longer with WWE because I think that just by virtue of how similar their characters are, a Mercedes and, Jade tag team would interest me greatly. I'm also upset. I wish she would go to Impact. I'd love to see her have a match against Trinity and Deonna Purrazzo. I think she, those are people that I think could really bring out the best in her. Hosey, you're not gonna get you're not gonna get any argument from me. I love Chris Statlander, but yeah. So look, at the end of the day, I think this is huge for WWE if it's true, and a very big hit to AEW in a women's division that's not doing too well right now. You know, I mean, the constant complaints. You have your champion on Twitter yelling and screaming at people. You know, people are, saying that they're not getting, the recognition they deserve. You have, look, another thing. WWE made wrestling fans made a very big deal and tweeted some very harsh things when Edge and Seth Rollins went over live on SmackDown in New York City. And Zelina Vega, and Zelina Vega was supposed to have a match there, and her father died during the 9/11 attacks. And like wrestling fans were cruel to WWE about that. Absolutely cruel. Now, I'm not saying that it's not a terrible thing, but things happen, right? How about poor Emmy, who has this character that's based on Freddie Mercury, just wanting a moment to come out, even just a pre-show, thing in Wembley, and Tony Khan didn't book her for the show. And Emmy's got a big support system on Twitter. You would think, this is something that she's been asking for. Ha! Hosey, don't worry. Look, I'm going to be getting going in 2 minutes because I'm actually going to want to watch the game myself. So, and Ryan, just to say, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are going to, when their contracts are up, I think we're going to see a lot of people's contracts expiring and a lot of people choosing to let their contracts expire. But yeah, I think that Jade has, look, AEW's women's division has been, that's what I was at. So Emmy didn't get that moment. And I think that WWE would have been ridiculed and beat to death about that if they did that to one of their talents. But AEW seems to just be like, oh, well, some people were upset, but other people just like, well, them's the breaks, kid. Maybe next year we'll announce it for next year. You know what I mean? Like, it's the unfair treatment that AEW gets, and they get this benefit of the doubt from a lot of wrestling fans that WWE never got. And remember, I'm an old school wrestling fan. I was around when the internet was born. I was on every chat about pro wrestling from the day chats about pro wrestling started. Okay, I was one of those guys. I have a wrestling channel where I talk about mostly wrestling action figures. I'm a freaking nerd. All right. A lot of people aren't going to, out nerd cred me. Okay. I've been around, and all people have done on the internet since the dawn of the internet is talk shit about WWE. That's all it's been. Now, at first they were talking shit more about WCW. As soon as WCW went out of business and ECW went out of business, all they did was talk shit about WWE. It has been since 2001, the internet has just relentlessly talked shit about WWE. Then they hyped up TNA, and then they relentlessly talked even more shit about TNA after that. Nobody's satisfied. Nobody's ever satisfied. And I'm not saying that this isn't, one of those things where, it's specific fans. Look, at the end of the day, everybody dumps on WWE more than they dumped on anything else. And now AEW is rightfully getting called out for some mistakes that they're making, some things that they're doing, and AEW fans are melting down. I can't believe this. All these people are against them. I saw somebody on Twitter say that I can't believe how many journalists are talking negatively about AEW. Like, are you kidding me? For 5 years, they've got nothing but positivity. Man, you got to look in the mirror sometimes. Not everybody's going to like what you like. Not everybody's going to agree with what you agree with. At the end of the day, it's about being logical. There's a logical way to think about this. Certain wrestlers want to wrestle certain places. Certain wrestlers want to wrestle other places. Certain wrestlers are wrestling in places they don't want to be because they can't wrestle in those other places. That's the reality of life. And the fact is that we try our best to get ourselves into that scenario or into that headspace, and we can't understand it. If Jade Cargill doesn't want to be in AEW anymore, if she's being offered more money by WWE and more fame and notoriety, then that's great. That's the way it is. But we got to stop getting all mad and riled up and pissed off at each other on the internet. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid. We don't have we don't have stakes in these companies. We don't. I just always noticed that there's a very anti-Vince WWE and the IWC. Yeah, all the time. And degenerate. Look, I'm 2 years away. I turned 38 a couple of weeks ago. All right, like I'm old at this point. I've been around at the start of it. It was always that way. On that note, hopefully soon we can do our Fig Fed stream. Yeah, Ryan, 100%. I gotta find my own notebooks and stuff like that, and I definitely want to do that soon. I don't want AEW to fail, but Jesus Christ, something has to give over there. Yeah, same here. Look, I never want anything to fail. I never want anybody to lose jobs. I love that AEW is around because it gives these people, these wrestlers, these backstage workers, gives them a job. It supports their families, and I love that. It gives them an extra place to work. It's going to pay them well to do it. Do they need some changes, in my opinion? Absolutely. I think WWE has absolutely been on fire. And I think AEW has been lagging behind. And I think that 2 years ago, I probably would have said differently. I think AEW was heating up, and I think WWE was, dying a slow death. But they've turned it around, and AEW's got to figure out their way to turn it around, not just for the casual fans, but for their fans. I have a binder of my Fig Fed stuff. Well, Harry, then you're definitely gonna, get to jump in and talk about that. Look, I have a lot to talk about with the Fig Fed stream. Ryan, I do want to let you know though. I think I have it right here. Who else from the AEW women's division? You see, go to WWE. From the women's division. I don't know. I have to think about that. I don't think anybody off the top of my head jumps out. I think WWE at one point might be interested in Statlander. I think I have the wrong notepad here. I do. All right. Well, I have another notepad that's completely identical to this one, and I had notes written down on it about my Fig Fed stuff. So I'm doing the research. I'm trying to get there. I just want to find some of my old stuff before I do a full blown live stream about it. Ryan, believe me, don't worry. There isn't and the thing is that I don't have a lot of this stuff written down. A lot of this is going off of memory. See, I don't know if Britt does go, Harry. I think that she's with her husband, and she's the centerpiece of that division, even when she's not. Well, I mean, unless she wants to face those certain women because she wants to have those matches, I think that's the only reason why I would say that she would go there. Ryan, I don't disagree with that. They might make a play for her. I just don't see Britt going, but that's just my opinion. And maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong in a way, because that would be crazy to see Britt Baker versus Bayley, or to see Britt Baker versus Charlotte Flair, or Britt Baker versus Becky Lynch. Like that, those are great matches, Ryan, that was mostly mine too, so don't feel so bad. And some ECW guys too. And then I broke it all off. Believe me. Let's not get started. I can go on for hours. I'm going to go, though. I do want to, relax for a little bit, get myself into a nice, good headspace, which you guys have thankfully helped me do, because I was not in a good mood when I first started this stream. If you go back and watch the very beginning of this, I am very somber. I wasn't in a very good mood. Henny, actually, that's not a bad call. Jamie Hayter might be somebody that I could see doing it, because she's so young. There's so much mileage left on her, and so much left in her career. But yeah, so thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for putting me in a better mood. I'm going to get myself into an even better mood and relax a little bit before the Thursday Night Football. But yeah, I'm going to be back soon doing the Fig Fed live stream. Please keep watching the videos. I've been pretty for the first time on this channel. I've been consistent. I've been posting every week the toy rooms stuff. So like, comment, subscribe, share where you can. I would really greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for keeping me company. Hope I made your Thursdays a little bit better. And I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night, everyone.